Hey everyone, thanks for attending our live demo of the Spring 2011 features release of Intronis Online Backup. My name is Dan Kalansky. I'm going to be your host on the call today. It's been quite a while since I've been the star of a show on a webinar, so bear with me as I try to step you through some of the new features we have going on. First off, I'd just like to introduce Chris Morey. You guys should all know Chris. Today he's going to be handling all the questions that we have that come on the call today. So feel free to ask any questions that you have, and Chris will either answer them via like text chat, or he might wait till a break in the presentation and then just kind of bring them up live on the call. So if you don't understand something, if you want me to go over something again, if you have a question about whatever the topic is at hand, please ask. We love to answer questions, and I'd like to think that we're pretty good at it. So I've been pretty straightforward about what we're going to be talking about today. If you guys have been reading my emails that I've been sending out, today we're going to be going over some pretty cool new features that we have at Intronis. What I'm going to be doing on the call is showing you kind of how to make a new backup set through the web, how to execute that backup, how to manage the files that it backs up, make sure that that they're on the server in an order that you can take care of them, and then how to restore those files back to the machine. And we're actually going to do a live demo. I'm presenting right now from my personal computer, and we're actually going to be running the Intronis backup to the same machine, so you'll see just how unobtrusive it is. It's going to be pretty cool. And then finally what we'll do is we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. So you're welcome to ask any questions you like at that time, or if you just have questions about Intronis in general, Chris and I will be happy to cover all the questions that you have at that time. So let's just go ahead and run through this real quick. I mean, obviously it's a pretty straightforward process. I mean, running backup software has to do three different things. One, it has to be able to back up software. It has to be able to back up something. It has to be able to keep that backup in an organized fashion, and then it has to be able to restore that backup to the machine. So the nice thing about Intronis is that you're going to be able to set up entirely new backup sets to the web portal. And the key to this is that you'll be able to see all the contents on the remote user's hard drive direct through the online portal. So that means instead of using a remote control tool to sign in and use the Intronis agent, or instead of trying to just sit down in front of the computer to set up a backup set, you can actually set up the entire thing through the web. And the other cool thing about it, obviously, is that now you won't be interrupting the user when you do it, because the entire thing's running through a web portal, and the Intronis agent will be operating silently in the background on their machine. And it's very easy to do this, and once you set up a backup set, you're going to be able to execute that backup basically by pushing a button in the Intronis portal, and you won't interrupt the user at all. They won't see that a backup is running. The only way that they would know is if they hovered over the little icon in the system tray, and it would say that it's running. So it's really that unobtrusive. They could be doing their work for the day, and they wouldn't even know. If they have files open, or if they're actively working on a specific file, Intronis will use the volume shadow copy service, VSS, to get a snapshot of that file and back up from there. So they can even be using the machine, won't bother them at all. So once you've backed up those files to the server, the key is to be able to make sure that that you only keep what you want. Obviously, with Intronis, the payment plan is based on what you save. So if Intronis is saving data to the server that you don't necessarily want, then it's good to be able to manage that, go through it, delete files that are taking up space that you're paying for that you may not necessarily need. So you can kind of compact the files down. You can remove files. Intronis has a whole section called stray files, which is a section where the customer may have deleted that file off of their computer, but Intronis will save that, will save the last version of that file, so that if the customer made that deletion by mistake, you can restore it. But oftentimes customers delete files that they don't necessarily want anymore, and then you're paying for the backup, which obviously means the customer's paying for the backup of these files, and they don't necessarily need them. any longer. So basically what you can do, and we'll see this in a minute when we do the live demo. You can sign into the system, look at the stray files, delete any of the files that don't necessarily work on that machine, and you can do almost all of this without touching the customer's computer at all. Actually, you can do all of it, not almost. You can do all of it. So let's talk about restoring files then. This is the last piece of the process. You can actually execute restores direct from the web panel, and these restores can be done again almost at the push of a button, and you have full control over kind of how that restore happens back to the machine. So if if your customer calls you on the phone and they say, hey, I've accidentally deleted all of my family photos and I know you have them backed up, can you help me? You can go into the Intronis portal, and we'll see this in a second, execute a restore, and the files will just start reappearing on the customer's computer. They don't need to wait for you to take control of their machine. You don't need to do any kind of remote control session. You don't need to go to their house and sit down in front of their computer and execute a restore. All this stuff is going to happen entirely through the web, so there's no wait time to get things started. They can get back into their data almost as quickly as it disappeared. So without further ado, I'm going to get ready to jump into the live demo. If you guys have any, Chris, have there been any questions up until this point?
Nothing yet. I mean, I did want to just kind of throw out there, you were talking about stray files. Also remember that if a customer goes in and starts renaming directories or renaming files, that actually counts as a deleted file and a new file, because that's the way the system looks at it. It says, oh, wait a minute, that directory that used to be named this isn't there anymore, and oh, here's another directory that I just found, so it's going to back up the new directory, and it's going to consider the old directory to be a stray file. So cleaning up those stray files is a really good way to make sure your customers aren't paying for more storage than they need.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. It's good to know. All right, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to hop in and do a live demo. So let me just pull up the Intronis portal here. I'm just going to log out real quick.